All right, Cory, you ready to get started?
Oh yeah, let's have some fun today, man. I'm excited. This is going on another episode, and excited about where everything is kind of turning out. And it's been a lot of fun doing this. So, you and I get into these deep conversations, and I keep going, "Where's the recorder? We need to just put this on paper right now,
right?
Because this is getting deep. We got to turn on the camera."
Yes. So part of what we were talking about before we got on the recording is the pain points as an entrepreneur, and pain points in terms of who you hire, who you have on your team, and both of us have different situations, but they both speak to readiness.
Yep.
And are you ready for the thing that you're asking for? So I'll describe my situation and you can talk about yours. But in my environment, we're in a space, and there is, as a church, and there is a group that is, interested in moving. And I think it was just the readiness of that group, or the interest of that group, that really pushed me to get clear on, wait, what are we actually ready for? Because from a leadership standpoint, your job is to look out ahead, to look at the desires of the group, look at where people want to go, where you want to go as a leader, where the organization wants to move, and actually do a real analysis. And when we boil down, like, hey, is it time to walk out the door today? Well, no, there's some things that we've got to do to actually get ready in order to be able to do that. And it was only in the being pushed in that pain point of not being where you want to be that actually helped us to actually look back and say, well, wait a minute, what is it that we actually need to get ready before we can move into our new space? I don't know. I guess this comes from we talked about the interview that Diddy did with Ray Dalio, where you said, it was the quote you shared was that pain will cause you to reflect, and it is only in that reflection that you can actually get some kind of progress.
Well, I appreciate you just stole my line,
I
but
sure
okay,
did.
I should have never shared that with you because you just took that line, okay? But look, here's the thing, and I completely agree with you on that. And to go back to what you were saying, how do you know you're ready, right? What I loved about that interview was, Ray Dalio said typically there were 3 attributes and 3 things that you needed to think about, in the process of knowing when you're ready. And he said, when you're hiring people, when you're trying to bring on board, we always think it's all about skill set, right? The ability to know how to do something, right? But in his mind, he said that he thought skill set should have been the last thing you're looking at. Because the first thing you should be looking at is value. Like, what value do they bring to the table? What do they do that kind of helps them synergize with your culture and what your company is all about? Is there the right attitude that they fit in place, and they actually, for all intents and purposes, they're a perfect fit, and that's what you're looking to find out.
And can I clarify something?
Sure.
Do you mean value like the value that they bring to the table, or do you mean value like what they value? Like what's important to them? What are their personal guiding principles?
Yes, most definitely. I think it's the latter. I think it's the culture they have, who they are as an individual, what they believe in. How do they synergistically work with your organization to bring more value to the culture, right? Not necessarily the value of saying that because this person is extremely good at what they do, I'm going to pay them X, Y, and Z more. Not in that sense, but more in the sense that they add value to your group. They add value to you being a
So how do you, is that just like an interview question? Like, is that an interview question where it's like, well, what do you value? Or what is something that an entrepreneur could do to actually get clear on a potential hiree, someone that they want to hire, get clear on their values?
Perfect. And it's so funny you asked that because that question was actually asked in the interview. He talked about personality tests. Now, we've all heard of the Myers-Briggs and the DISC test and stuff like that. So he talked about personality tests because something about personality tests, you can't really cheat them. It's going to be who you are and what really drives you and motivates you. Someone who comes into your office and says they're this type of person. I'm all about caring and giving and making a difference in the world. They're saying all the right things, right?
Right.
They're saying all the polished things that you want to hear about being a good interviewer, right? Because at the end of the day, we can be really good at interviewing, right? We know what boxes to check off. We know what the employer is looking for and what they want to hear you say.
Yes.
But is it authentic, right?
Yes.
You know, I recently have had to go through this process of trying to hire people, right? And I got to tell you, it's got to be the most dauntingest task in the world. I do not like it in any way, shape, or form. And it was funny because in this interview, you know, P. Diddy said to himself that he was at this point, and I appreciate him being as humble as he was in the conversation, because he talked about how he's frustrated, you know, that he's at a certain level that he wants to expand and become more and be better, but the people who are around him are not at that level.
Right.
And it was frustrating because he didn't know how to either bring the greatness out of them,
right,
or how to go out and hire the greatness from someone else,
right,
to make things better. And I feel like for myself, I'm in that same situation, right? I know that we have hit a plateau in our company, and I'm trying to figure out, how do we go to that next level? How do I get that stellar team that takes us beyond where we're currently at? Right. I always tell people, you know, there's this point in time where you're going up the hill, going up the hill, going up the hill, going up the hill. And it's the difference between, do you go over the hill or do you roll back down, right? And I feel like right now, because of not having the right team in place, I'm going up the hill, going up the hill, going up the hill, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost,
right,
dang it, and I'm rolling back down,
right?
And so that conversation about value adds and how to look for that right person, he talked about personality tests, but then he also talked about creating a spec sheet. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want in place to help you get and achieve the goals that you're going for, right? And I thought that was pretty valuable, because like, I thought to myself, you know, do I really, or have I really taken the time out and identified all the areas that I need, that I may be lacking in myself personally? Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you can't do it all. You may think you can, but you got to realize that sometimes you need to humble yourself and say that there is someone out there that's better at this than me, right?
Yes.
And at the same time, how do I hire that person to elevate my game that makes us more profitable, more business oriented, more successful in that process? And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Right. So going back, that's powerful. So the spec sheet, I'm taking notes on the notes. Okay?
Right.
So, but in terms of just figuring out like their attitude, and do they have the same values, is this spec sheet a part of that? Like,
yeah.
Is that okay?
You know, by means, because I mean, you look. Here's the thing. It's just like when we talk about managing money, right? We say take a piece of paper out and start listing all your debts.
Right.
Well, to me, your spec sheet is taking a piece of paper out and listing all the things you want to accomplish in whatever it is that you're trying to go for. So in my case, I'm trying to grow my business, my practice, make my firm grow and be a household name, be the first financial advisor or personal finance coach that Nike gives a signing deal to for wearing the stuff. Notice I'm wearing Nike right now, just so you guys know that, okay? But that's kind of where we're at, right?
Hilarious.
And so, you know, the focus point is, when you're writing out that spec sheet, you're basically putting your wish list of what you want out there and making sure that people that you're kind of interviewing are going to fall into that parameter to help you get to that next level. So the spec sheet is that. I think the personality test is also tying into that as well, and that actually becomes a big part of that process as well. Now, the second attribute and the second thing that he said that you needed was, of course, abilities, right? That person has to have some sort of ability to be able to help you go to that next level. And so now with that spec sheet, you can look at what are the abilities you're looking for that your shortcomings are to help you fill those voids.
Right. So, okay, so values is the first priority. Can they really fit into the culture? Do they come to the table? Are you looking for same worldview?
You know, I don't know if the same worldview is necessarily what we're saying, but I think we're saying that we have to have some commonality that in the course of our day, we need to gel. We need to connect, right? I'll give you an example. I've interviewed some people in the past, and they were extremely polished, right? I like to say they sent their representative, okay?
Right.
Because they said everything perfect, right?
Right.
They talked about how it's all about team mentality and working together and the common goal, and my job is to make you look better, and all these different things that were just perfect, right? When you listen to that interview, you're going, man, this person is right on point.
Right.
But when you sat and talked to them, they were almost too polished, right? Like, I felt like at the end of the day, they couldn't get knee deep and dirty with me, right?
Right.
They wouldn't take off the
veneer.
Louis Vuitton attitude kind of thing and get on the ground and like lay on the floor and start shifting through paperwork. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm totally willing to do that. I'll kick off my shoes, drop
Right.
on the ground, and let's make it happen.
Right.
And I felt like this person that I was hiring, I don't know necessarily that person would do that. And so
Right.
that to me was what I was saying about the value, the culture. There was a disconnect in that process, even though on paper they looked amazing.
Right.
But I didn't feel like they would be a good part of our culture.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Got it. And then abilities. What qualifies as abilities? Because I know I have a little insight into what a third priority is. So I almost want to say, like, what's the third priority, and then what's the difference between the two?
So to me, I think the ability is the willingness and eagerness to execute. And let me say that again. I think the ability is the willingness and eagerness to execute. See, it's one thing that you have the skill set to do it, right?
Right.
But I think you have to also have the ability to execute it, right?
Right.
See, a lot of times we get people that look good on paper.
Yes.
They say all the right stuff.
Yes.
But when you look up, they're asking you, what do I do? See,
Right.
for me, I'm hiring the best so that I don't have to tell you what to do.
Right.
I want you to say, Cory, as a podcast expert, I think you should be doing this, and this
Right.
to get your brand out there. If I hire my videographer, I want him to tell me, hey, I think the 4K video looks better than 1080 video,
Yes.
and all that. And I know what that means because I really don't. But
Right.
at the end of the day, he's giving me his expert opinion. But more importantly, he's putting a tripod up there, putting a 4K on there, and putting a 1080 on there, and I can actually see the difference because he believes in what his ability is and the skill set it has to do, so he's executing it. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yes. Absolutely. So values, abilities, skill set.
Correct.
Okay. So now from the entrepreneur standpoint, how, it would be great. We do what we try. We try Indeed. We try careerjob.com. Like, what do you just need personal references? Like, because I've witnessed some of these hiring processes here and been a part of them, and then had my own with my own team. And I guess I almost feel like sometimes when I get someone who's good, it almost feels like luck as opposed to I've got
Skill set, right?
right. I can't tell you I got a skill set with hiring people, but sometimes I luck out. Like right now, I have an assistant she's awesome. She's awesome. She's in
Be
graduate.
careful. She may be listening.
That's true. But she is right. No, but I wanted to know that she is awesome.
Okay.
But she won't be with me forever because she's in graduate school and headed on in a completely different career, not interested in continuing in ministry in that way. And so then I'm going to be back at square one. Like, how do I find that person?
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing for any entrepreneur is to find people who want to grow with the business and are willing to put in long term.
Right.
I struggle with that hugely because we have a position that we like to call our director of first impressions. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is the highest turnover position we have in our office because the people who come on board, they're stepping stones, right? This is like
Right.
a stepping stone to them. They want to be a nurse practitioner. They want to be Miss Scoop of the Week and a designer. They want to be a model, right? And I'm just sitting there going, okay, have you thought about long term, and what you can get out of this long term business, right? And so I completely understand that it is a challenge and it's frustrating as entrepreneurs that we train someone and we take them through all this process and we put all this energy and time in them and then they don't last. So I definitely understand the pain point, and as we talked about before, pain equals reflection, and then that kind of builds you through that progress, right?
Right.
So I totally understand that, but it's something that I think unfortunately we just have to go through as entrepreneurs. Now, what I recently have talked about and heard about was that sometimes, even in this interview, he talked about hiring people to hire the people you're looking for, right? And I thought that was interesting because he said that sometimes you need to recruit talent to be able to recruit the talent, right? And and I've always heard about job placement services and recruiters and stuff like that, and then you kind of weigh it out. You say to yourself, is the money I'm spending on that recruiter worth it to get this certain person, right? And then after you sit back and you reflect how much time and energy you've put into trying to find the right person, trying to look through all the Indeed resumes, trying to figure all that out, you realize you could have paid that recruiter his salary for the year and been in a better position and probably have found someone who wants to be there long term and actually is now moving in the direction you want him to be in. So for us internally, that is something I think we're leaning towards as far as our possibilities of hiring new people, is really finding the right recruiter, finding the right team, finding the person that can actually deliver on that execution.
But is it possible to actually utilize the people that you already have on board that are a good fit to help you find people that are a good fit? And what I mean by that is, because that's an expense,
Birds of a feather flock together.
Right, exactly. That's an expense to go and find a recruiter. And maybe as an entrepreneur, I can't really add that to the bottom line. That just feels like extra. But is it possible to take the people that are there that are a good fit instead of the candidates coming in and meeting with you first, but they've actually got to go through maybe 2 or 3 levels before they actually advance to you?
Right.
Because the people who are with you, I would think, who know you, would be able to say, that's not going to be somebody that Cory's going to want to work with.
Right. What you trying to say, Sherri?
No,
I felt a little personal dig there.
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. I'm just saying that the people who have assimilated to your personality as a CEO will have a different level of insight on who would actually fit that you might not have as a CEO. And again, I'm just troubleshooting and problem solving and thinking about, I'm thinking about my own situation. So is, really utilizing the team that exists to help build the team that comes.
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, one of the things is I have a young lady on board right now that I think is the sweetest person in the world. And I think I really enjoy her willingness to be here. Right. And I think that's something that you can't teach, right? There are certain individuals that just fit. They're a part of it. They believe in the concept. They believe in what you're trying to do. And it's that's where it's at. And that's something I don't think you can buy. I think there's certain individuals that have that, and I think that's what you get. So, it's so funny you said that, because one of my questions is to ask her, who else do you know, that might fit in this culture, right? So I agree 100% with that. I think the challenge, though, if I'm being really candid, is depending on the job description and depending on what the job is, a lot of people may not have the specifications, right, or the speciality to be able to do the job you're looking for. Now, it's one thing to be able to say, hey, I'm looking for a good front office person that's going to do some admin work, as opposed to someone who's a great salesperson that's a personal finance coach or an author or a speaker, or someone who's social media aspects. You got to have certain skill sets in order to be able to do that. And unfortunately, that I think is a little bit difficult to find, by just through a referral, and I think that's where part of that challenge comes in.
Right. I'm over here. I want to just say amen, right? So listen, wealth is a team sport. And I think that we have thought of teams as groups of people, but we're a team as a country. And you are only as strong as your weakest link.
There you go.
And so it is, people think of it as a liberal idea to want a team that, to want to help people that need help, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. And the thing is that our economy is very soon China will outpace our economy.
Yep.
In terms of just the sheer size of the economy, and there are people today who are calling the this millennium, the 21st century, the Chinese century, because they are on pace to overtake where we are. And I don't know. I think I like a capitalist.
Society?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I don't know that I want to be under a communist society. And so I think that we have to develop an idea or an attitude that people matter and the people in our country matter. And no, I can't just leave no, it's not okay that we have 70,000 homeless people in Los Angeles. That's not okay.
Right.
That's just flat out not okay.
So, I know this is kind of taking us into a whole different level, right?
Level.
But it was something that just kind of resonated in my mind when I thought about that interview.
Because we have said that if all you have is money, you're not winning.
There you go.
And so it means that it's okay to have money, but you need something else with that money. You need to be making a difference.
Correct.
You need to be growing personally. You need a healthy relationship. You need to look good. Hello, right? You need some free time and something. You need a well-rounded life. You need real career or business goals, and then you need financial goals. But it's not just about money. Right. And so there is making a difference is it's planting a seed for a tree that'll grow whose shade you may not sit under.
But how do we, as a culture of people who are, looking in an instant society, we want it fast, immediately, we want to microwave it and make sure it's done in 2 seconds kind of deal. How do we change that value process, right, to let our children and our people who we are trying to bring up to understand that it takes time, right? It takes time to nurture that process, right? Because we are in that process where we want everything to be instantly, right? We want it right now.
Microwave success.
Exactly. But, what I realize is, it's like no matter what you do, it's the behind the scenes part that most people don't see, right? They don't know that I've been doing this for 25 years trying to get to this point, right? They don't know that up and coming actor that you see out of the blue and go, oh my God, they just came out of nowhere, but they were studying and honing their crafts and getting good at what they do to where finally something hit for them,
Yes.
So how do we instill that in our children, in our culture, in our ability to make them understand that it's not instant. It is grinding and putting in the work and working as hard as you possibly can.
Okay. I think that you cannot give to another person what's not already alive in you. And I think that those of us that are putting in these 20-year grinds to build the kingdoms that we're interested in seeing on earth, I think that we have a responsibility to do a better job of enjoying the journey.
Okay.
And celebrating those small wins along the way, because I cannot give you what's not alive in me. So I can't tell you to get over your microwave consciousness if I haven't gotten over mine.
Correct.
And so I think that it's the personal work that we have to do to be joyful right where we are, to be happy right where we are, and not think that because I'm happy, it doesn't mean that I'm not reaching for something greater. And because otherwise I can't give it to you.
Right.
Well, the basketball player whose name you don't know can't give me what Michael Jordan can give me, because there's a different thing that's alive in Michael Jordan. Right? Mm-hmm. And so if we want to pass something on, we have to wake it up inside of ourselves. And so I think that this is maybe a call out to entrepreneurs that enjoy the journey. And as much as you're focused on the grind, build in windows of time where you just celebrate where you are and appreciate where you are. And then when you pass that message on to somebody else, it's going to resonate. It's going to have a level of authenticity that it wouldn't have if it's not true for you.
Nice. Well, guys, I appreciate today. I hope that you enjoy this topic of wealth habits. You know, as we always say, if money is all you have, you're not winning.
You're not winning.
Thanks, Sherri. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Except take